Yep. All right, well, speaking of running backs, let's jump to the love list there. Matthew, Chase Brown, low-end RB1 for 2025. There's been some chat that Chase Brown is going to see a lessened workload, but I think that's the type of thing where you need to really see it to believe it.
I do too. I mean, I think, the Bengals offseason, they could have added somebody a big name. We'll see what they do in the draft. I think they will draft a running back, but the fact that the only guy they added was Samaje Perine, who turns 30 in September, had less than 50 touches last season, and is known as a good pass blocker. So, I mean, what they're saying is like, yeah, on obvious third down passing situations, Perine will be in there, but Chase Brown's going to get a ton of work here. He's clearly going to be the guy. And you think about that final 8 games of the season where he was averaging over 23 touches a game, and, he was the 4th best running back in fantasy on a points per game basis, had a 13% target share, had over 115 yards from scrimmage per game. So the fact that the Bengals didn't add any legit competition, we don't know where Zach Moss is in recovery. Sounds like it's going to be quite a while before we see Moss back on.
Also, probably just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. That's why they brought in Gainwell. But Gainwell could be a guy you could see the way he touched the football on the Eagles is how he'll touch the football on the Bengals, I assume.
Yep. Connor, a guy who probably 12 months ago was thought of in the same kind of vein as Chase Brown, as Jaylen Warren, who had a tough season for the Steelers with my man Najee Harris taking over that backfield. What do you think his upside is with Najee gone?
Well, there's just so many touches, right? I mean, obviously Najee vacates almost 300 touches from this backfield. I'm pretty positive this team is going to draft a workhorse running back in the draft. But that doesn't mean Warren doesn't have value. Remember, he had the soft tissue injury last preseason and kind of just lingered into the regular season. I mean, look at when he gets involved in the pass game, which he will, he's very, very effective, especially in PPR. So the point is, did it help him in free agency? Yes, it did, because the lead back is gone, and they didn't make any significant additions that eat into Warren's workload. He just needs to be healthy coming out of camp this year. That was the reason for his drop-off last year.
When he gets work, right, he's got 8 career games with 15 or more touches, and he averages almost 14 fantasy points per game, over 90 yards from scrimmage in those games. When Jaylen Warren gets work, he's effective, and at least as it stands now, in an Arthur Smith offense that doesn't have a quarterback at the moment.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just direct snap it to Jaylen Warren every play. But anyway, Jaylen Warren's fantasy value, certainly, at least at the moment, he's a low-end RB2. We'll see who the Steelers add in the draft.
I was getting ahead of myself a little bit with Kenneth Gainwell. Wrong AFC North team, but still, the fact remains, the way Kenneth Gainwell, I know you would.
But the problem is we couldn't, because he's on the next graphic.
But I can't let it slide. The fact remains, the way Kenneth Gainwell got the ball in Philly is how he'll probably get it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, the man he is kind of replacing in a way, Lawrence Najee Harris, my man, my favorite player in the NFL, who is going to a Chargers offense that went a little bit under the radar. If J.K. Dobbins didn't do his MCL against the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins is going to have like 1,200 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns in that offense.
And I think J.K. Dobbins would have been back too if he would, but that's not the case. You got Najee Harris now. So, a lot's always talked about Najee Harris with the yards per carry. But the thing about Najee Harris, and I think the Chargers staff love this about him, is he always shows up. He does not miss games. 280-plus touches, 1,200-plus scrimmage yards in all 4 seasons that he played with Pittsburgh. He's dependable. You get near the goal line, we could see him get double-digit rushing touchdowns. I still think the Chargers are in play to draft a running back here, but I don't think it'll matter because Najee Harris will have a role just like he's had in Pittsburgh when folks try to write him off.
296 is the number. That's the carries vacated from Dobbins and the Gus Bus. That's a lot of touches. Where if they draft a running back, and it won't be early, in my opinion, I'm with you, Lawrence. Najee Harris is going to eat. You couldn't dream up a better landing spot, Matthew.
You couldn't at all. I mean, me, I'm not the biggest Najee Harris fan, but I will say the man does show up. But he does show up like he's healthy. You know what I mean? The guy doesn't miss games. If there's one downside, he's not involved in the passing game. The Chargers don't throw the ball to the running back, so I think that limits his upside somewhat. But still, he's going to be an easy top 20 running back that no one's going to want to draft. And then, he's going to be like this year's James Conner. He's just going to fall in drafts because he's not exciting. He's not fun to have on your roster, but you're going to look up at the end of the year and he's going to be running back 17.
Indeed. All right, let's take a look at some others receiving votes headlined by a perennial love Aaron Jones back in Minnesota as RB1, joined by Jordan Mason, who is very interesting.
I think it'll be 65-35, but I think the best landing spot was Aaron Jones going back to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, who loves him and who kind of unlocked his passing game potential last year. Really used him a lot in the passing game. Mason will take some of the between the tackle stuff, but going back to Minnesota in this offense with KOC and having a guy like Jordan Mason behind him, I think upgrades both their values as well. Meanwhile, Javonte Williams, not the biggest Javonte Williams fan either. I don't think he looked great last year, but certainly hard to argue that his fantasy value hasn't improved going from a very crowded backfield in Denver to now Dallas, where he's competing with Deuce Vaughn and Miles Sanders. I expect the Cowboys to add somebody in the draft, but as we stand here today, Javonte Williams is your starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys, and certainly that's an upgrade in his fantasy value from last year. And finally, of course, with the trade of Jordan Mason to Minnesota, it means Isaac Guerendo is the default backup to Chris McCaffrey. If you're a backup running back on San Francisco and you're behind CMC, you've got immediate value.
Indeed.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.